Scream 2 might be the greatest horror sequel of all time. It definitely deserves to be in that conversation. Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Today we are talking Scream 2, 1997, the sequel to the infamous Scream 1996, the first Scream. Scream 2 is legendary. It is iconic. Us horror fans, we know and we appreciate Scream. I have a pet peeve in terms of the horror zeitgeist and just movie fans in general where people really dismiss sequels in slasher franchises, horror franchises, whatsoever. They give so much praise to the original, as they should, with movies like Scream, Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street. But there are great sequels in all of their respective franchises. Dream Warriors being one, Halloween 4, and Halloween, and Scream 2 being one, it's Scream. Us horror slasher nerds, we love all the movies in most of these franchises, especially Scream. Scream has, I think, no bad movies whatsoever, but Scream 2 is a perfect horror sequel. It is one that deserves more respect in terms of critics and, just pop culture in general, right? People love the original Scream and they'll put it on a pedestal, as they should. I talk about that ad nauseum in my previous review, but Scream 2 is that good too. In fact, there was a point where I liked Scream 2 more than Scream 1. Now, granted, I go into my reasons why in my Scream 1 review, and a lot of that has to do with Scream 1's killer reveals being ruined for me because I grew up on Scary Movie, and I felt like Scary Movie basically gave away the entire plot of Scream. That's neither here nor there. I grew to eventually like Scream 1 more than Scream 2. But Scream 2 was a big surprise for me because I didn't know the killer reveals. I got to go on the fun journey just like everyone else got to do with Scream 1. The only thing that was spoiled to me was the opening scene in the movie theater where Jada Pinkett Smith's character is in there, right? That was parodied in Scary Movie as well. Scary Movie parodied Scream 1 and the movie theater scene in Scream 2. And I kind of knew what would happen in that scene. That was another iconic opening scene for the Scream franchise. They always knock it out of the park. I think every opening scene in Scream is pretty good or legendary. They're all solid enough at the very least, but this one was great. It's really fun. They set the tone early, being in the movie theater, and they have all these crazed out fans having Ghostface masks. The idea in itself, super meta, super self-aware, coming up with the idea of crazed fans making a movie inside this movie called Stab, right? The Stab franchise inside the Scream franchise was one of the most genius moves that really helped create a lot of the narrative choices in all of the Scream franchise afterwards. 2 through 6, a lot of it is predicated on the birth of Stab in Scream 2. So this movie definitely opened up a lot of lore for future installments. Like Scream 1, Scream 2 has a great cast of characters. We brought back Dewey, we brought back Gale, we brought back Sidney, and we brought back Randy. The core four, before core four was a phrase, right? They are all back in this movie, and they are awesome. And I actually think Sidney is better in this movie than she is in Scream 1. This is where Sidney truly comes to form, and she becomes the fighter that we know and love. She has that in 1, but they evolve her character so much in this movie, and I love it. Dewey and Gale, their dynamic is great. I love the hair change for Gale. Gale Weathers, I didn't talk about it in my last review, but she is gorgeous. Courtney Cox is gorgeous in Scream 1 and Scream 2. Scream 3, they ruin her a little bit with the haircut that they decided to use. We'll talk about that in Scream 3, but she looks great in Scream 1 and Scream 2. And Dewey, what they do with his character, added his own little score or melody every time he appears on screen, is so funny, so charming, and he is so much dumber in this movie, I feel like. Like, he's dumb in Scream 1, but they take it to another level in Scream 2. I think the music helps, but his play on relationship with Gale is great. It's gold. I love it. I love Dewey. And Randy, he's great in this movie too. Very important. He's not in it as long as you want him to be, but when he is in it, he's important. He is valuable, and the franchise really hasn't been the same without having Randy anymore. This should go without saying that there's going to be spoilers for this movie. It's an old movie. You can't talk Scream without talking spoilers, so you have been warned. So R.I.P. Randy, you will be missed. The franchise has not been the same without you. It actually set the tone very strong. Like, oh my gosh, they were willing to kill Randy? Like, it set the bar so high that anyone could die in this movie. So when Dewey gets stabbed, you really thought he died too. And when I thought they killed Dewey, I was freaking out the first time that I watched this movie. I watched this franchise all for the first time in 2020. I watched all, well, at the time it was only 4 movies. It was before Scream 2 came out. Or not Scream 2. Scream 5 and 6 came out. When I watched that for the first time, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Why would you kill the... Whatever. Dewey survives in the end, thank God. Because Dewey is the heart and soul of this franchise. New additions like Jerry O'Connell as Derek, Cindy's new boyfriend, is great. The scene where he sings to her in the college dorm and gives, his letters or whatever it's called, the frat stuff to Cindy, is a really nice scene, right? Cindy's still always kind of on edge, not knowing if her boyfriend could be the killer, even though he seems like the sweetest guy in the world, and clearly way different than Billy. Mickey is a great new addition. I love his relationship with Randy, and when he is revealed to be the killer, he is crazy. There was a point that I liked him more than other people in this franchise. I'm going to make a killer reveal ranking by the end of this franchise, but Mickey is great. When he reveals himself, he goes full sadistic, and I liked him even before that point. He's not in the movie enough, right? He kind of disappears midway through the movie, which is something I didn't fully notice the first time I watched it, but it's kind of obvious on rewatch. And then we have Mrs. Loomis, right? Being the other killer reveal. When she was revealed to be the killer at first they set you off and make you think it's Gale at first. And I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, oh crap, really? Like, you believe this stuff, or you want to believe it. And because Gale just seems so, like, a little off from the first movie, second movie. You could believe that it could have been her at the time. In hindsight, now you feel like you don't because you know how the movies play out. But at the time, you could see them picking Gale. But and being Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mother, and more of the reveal of who she was more crazy because she was pretending to be someone else the whole time. Because at first I was like, why is she the killer? Billy's mother, and the way that Mickey goes, Billy's mother, and he looks just so nuts. Really is such a good needle drop for that. CC Cooper, just because Sarah Michelle Gellar was such an icon in the 90s. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She was in I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I don't know which one came out first. They came out in the same year. Big year for her, right? She was in 2 similar type movies in the same year. One of the most iconic scenes for a kind of a throwaway character kill, right? Like, that's really what that was. It was a cannon fodder type kill that would usually be like that for a Friday the 13th or a Halloween or whatever. But for some reason, CC feels like more of a lived-in character that you care about. Now, maybe it's just because it's Sarah Michelle Gellar. It was almost like the Drew Barrymore of that movie, but it was in the middle of the movie. Really good scene, really iconic phone call situation, and it was so good that they even used it in Halloween H2O, where the characters in H2O are watching that scene from Scream 2 in the background of H2O. Fun little nugget there for horror fans that if you watch both franchises, it's something I always appreciate when I watch that. I think Scream 2 should have got a little bit more creative with the kills or get a little bit more bloodier because Randy talks about how the body count's higher, the kills are more creative, and they get way more bloodier in the sequels. That was the foundation they laid. And they kind of do that because Scream 1 doesn't have that much kills. But I think they should have added at least one more, like something a little bit more significant. Now, at the time, you probably think Dewey died, so it's like until the end. So it does feel that way, but in hindsight, they could have done a little more. I think the one kill that was really impactful for me was the police officer or detective or whatever that had the pole go through his skull. Like, that freaked me out the first time I watched it. And that scene and that sequence afterwards is one of the most tense scenes in a horror movie ever, maybe. Like, it definitely a slasher movie where Cindy is trapped in this police car, can't get out with her friend Haley. Haley's a good character too, by the way. Where they have to climb over Ghostface's body and go out through the window. The music, the score, Cindy Nev Campbell's performance through that was, oh man, like you really feel anxious because, like I said, Scream 2 really upped the ante, killed Randy, making you think Randy Dewey died, right? You feel like anything can happen in this movie. And when Cindy's going through that, it's just, you care. You care because you love Cindy and you want her to get through this. Almost forgot to mention Cotton Weary, using him, the storyline from Scream 1 where he's the one that, supposedly killed Cindy's mother, but actually didn't. It was freed, but we don't actually know. Maybe they got it wrong. Using him as a, possible candidate to have killed or be the new Ghostface is a really, really good story writing option. I love what they do with Kyle Weary, and he seems weird. He seems crazy in his own right, so you believe it. Scream 2 adds enough different tricks and red herrings throughout the movie where you're still not sure on who it could be. So important. Scream always has to have good red herrings, and I feel like most movies do. I will reveal which one does it to me, but it's not Scream 2. I think Scream 2 has plenty of good red herrings and lots of tension. Scream 2 is a perfect horror sequel to me, for the most part. It's really that good. It's so creative. I love how they make fun of the ideas of sequels. Just the whole movie nerd talk in theater class with Randy and Cece and Mickey and a couple other guys where they're talking, oh, please, sequels are inferior films by standards, blah, blah, and they're arguing, oh, what about Terminator 1 or Terminator 2 and blah, blah, blah. Like, that was gold because it is kind of what I talked about at the beginning of this video, where people don't respect horror sequels for some reason. Even though they love franchises, oh, the Halloween franchise is cool, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is cool, but they only give props to the original half the time. So, if we love franchises, why don't we talk about the sequels more? The sequels are great, and I think as horror fans, that's why we have YouTube channels, and that's why we have this horror community that agrees with this stuff, right? The slasher community. But most people outside of that bubble, they're like, I've seen the first Halloween. I've never seen any others. I might have saw one random. I saw the Rob Zombie one. We get into these weird discussions with it, and Scream pokes fun at that whole argument and debate in this movie, saying, oh, what's the point of having a sequel? The sequels are never as good, right? While we're watching a sequel. That is genius writing from Kevin Williamson. Wes Craven, you guys are masterminds, and I love what they do pretty much in every movie after this, building off that kind of meta, self-aware narrative. And it really does kickstart with the momentum that Scream 2 builds as a sequel. Those are my thoughts on Scream 2. I could definitely talk a lot more about it, but don't want this to be a 100-minute video. That's something I'm going to say a lot in these Scream movies, because I could just go on a rant forever. But this is a great sequel. Leave a comment down below. What do you think of Scream 2? Where do you have it ranked in the franchise if you want to play around with that idea? I'm going to make a ranking video after Scream 7 on where I rank Scream 2, right? Subscribe to be along the journey with me if you're not subscribed yet. I'm going to make ranking video of all the Scream movies. I'm probably going to rank all 7 cold opens. Hoping that Scream 7 is very good as well with the cold opens. I'm going to do a Scream Killer reveal. Bear with me on the timing of all those different things, but definitely going to tackle a Scream 7 review and ranking video of the franchise when that movie comes out. So subscribe and stay around because the next review is Scream 3 and I'm excited to talk about it.